Great. Welcome, everybody. This is a training of eBuy specifically for holders of the Polaris GWAC. Today, I want to cover an introduction to eBuy, especially tailored for Polaris GWAC holders. I want to give you a quick overview of the journey that our buyers follow when they're posting requests so that you can understand where some of the data that you see and that you respond to comes from. I want to cover some things that are important for sellers to know, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end. This presentation, of course, is specifically for holders of a Polaris GWAC, and this recording will be available for those that might not have been able to make it today. Some key takeaways from this session, what I want you to walk away with, is an understanding of what eBuy is and how the buyers are using it to request quotes, proposals, or information from contract holders such as yourselves. I want to dive into how you find opportunities and how you configure your profile as a seller. And I want you to walk away with an understanding of where you could find more information, who you could talk to if you have any questions about the system or about your contract. So in general, our buyers post requests for services, for volume discounts, and for market research. eBuy was initially launched around 2002 as the economy and the government purchasing was moving towards services. Products were done through GSA Advantage, but there was no tool that was really ideal for services. So eBuy was designed with the idea that a buyer could post a request for a quote, and then a seller, a holder of, at the time, multiple award schedule contract, could provide a response. eBuy has grown since then to include other contract vehicles, but at its core, it's ideal for services, sometimes combinations of products and services. We also train our buyers that eBuy can be used to get volume discounts. For buyers that are looking to outfit a conference center and who may be buying a large volume of chairs or furniture, or monitors, they can compete that on eBuy and see whether or not they can get a better price above and beyond what maybe a small number of units would go for. And eBuy of late especially is a lot easier for market research for buyers to use what with the programs that GSA offers. I'd actually like to take a moment to turn it over to Amanda to go into a little bit more detail on market research and specifically market research as a service.
Thank you, Peter. Yep, we wanted to take this opportunity to do a very high-level overview of MRAS because you will see a lot of these opportunities popping up in eBuy. So the first thing we need to address is what is MRAS. The Market Research as a Service, or MRAS program, helps federal agencies make better decisions when buying goods and services. It gives that customized market research detailing available options and their prices. So this information helps agencies choose the right contracts and solutions from GSA to meet their specific needs. By using MRAS, agencies can be confident that they're making smart choices and getting the best value. A major advantage of MRAS is that it speeds up the buying process, which saves time and resources. Next slide, please. So here's a little of what MRAS offers at no cost to federal agencies. The MRAS program currently offers 3 different services, and I'm going to focus on the third option on the screen, and that is the MRAS RFI Market Research Report. So this service helps agencies develop customized RFIs. Within 2 business days of GSA receiving an MRAS request, a member of the GSA customer service team will reach out and work directly with the agency to review the draft RFI developed from information that they provided. They're then going to work side by side with them to further refine the RFI until it's ready to be posted. After the RFI closes, a market research report is designed specifically to see how the GSA market can meet technical requirements and support their mission. The market research report includes socioeconomic, technical capabilities, and comprehensive business information, so agencies can complete their acquisition planning and develop small business strategies, requirements, and cost estimate documents. All of this is completed within just 1 to 2 weeks. Next slide, please. So that brings us to the question of what is the value for you? When responding to a request for information, You are provided with contact information for both the agency and the GSA representative who collaborated on its development. Also, your feedback is valuable. By summarizing the insights we receive from industry partners like you, we help acquisition professionals better define and clarify their needs. As you see illustrated in the chart, information technology is a leading area of research, second only to professional services. So responding to these RFIs also offers other benefits. It's an opportunity to showcase your capabilities and demonstrate your ability to meet specific customer requirements. This increased visibility can lead to new customer relationships. Finally, it's worth noting that 45% of these RFIs ultimately result in awards to GSA contract holders. So that concludes the MRAS portion. If you would like to attend an in-depth training, you can go to the MRAS link that's provided on the bottom left corner. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Peter.
Thanks so much. Just to reiterate the link, you can find more information on one of our other e-tools, buy.gsa.gov/MRAS. Will take you to the Market Research as a Service section of buy.gsa.gov, and emailing rfi@research.gsa.gov is another way to find more information about this program. All right, so returning to where we detoured, eBuy really is for everything. I went through and snagged a whole bunch of different examples that we've seen posted on eBuy over the years, and while I recognize that almost none of these items are available under the Polaris GWAC, I think it's interesting just to show the breadth of how wide eBuy covers in the buying space. Laptops and office supplies, of course, are pretty standard requests that we see from time to time. But some of the more interesting ones that we've seen in the last 2 years are services for painting, cleaning, radiology, and medicine. The dental assistant services was a huge surprise to me, as was the pairs of Reebok boots. But it just goes to show you how there are folks all across the federal government, and in some cases state and local governments, who have need of these products and services, and how eBuy is able to help them get quotes, proposals, or information for whatever they need. And it shows in the activity. eBuy had about 47,000 requests closed during fiscal year 2025. On average, each request receives 3 quotes or bids. Now, it's a little bit dependent on what the general traffic is in any category. Some of the more popular categories, which have thousands of contract holders, more quotes will come in. Some of the smaller ones might get a little bit less. But in general, the rules on competition are met here because eBuy does provide the 3 quotes on average. As far as estimated award value, we estimate billions of dollars in awards are going through the tool. And for small business set-asides, what we've seen in 25 was that about a fifth to a quarter of the requests that were posted were designated as small business set-aside. So the value for buyers is that this tool is compliant, it fosters competition, and it allows them to meet their agency socioeconomic goals. As far as who the top 3 buyers are, the most activity in 2025 came from the Air Force, first place. GSA, we are a big user of our own tool. We came in second, and the United States Navy came in third. So large numbers of our requests being made from each of those entities. In truth, there's 20 or more agencies in the course of the fiscal year that used eBuy. As far as the vehicle, about 70% of the activity that we've seen went through the multiple award schedules program. And I am going to make a guess that a good number of the audience also holds a multiple award schedule contract. So perhaps you saw some of those requests. But for the folks who are new and seeing this for the first time, MAS was the largest, it was where we saw the most activity, with 2GIT and Oasis being second and third after that. We did touch a little bit earlier on the registration process, which from the poll, I'm very happy to hear that most of you found useful. But in general, the steps for registering are to first make sure that you are registered, that your entity is registered in sam.gov, and that you have gotten your unique entity ID, your UEI. You've got that handy. You will need that when you then go to the Vendor Support Center and you register your contract there. There's a very prominent button in the menu at the top of the page to register your contract. It will ask you for some information about your contract, including your UEI, and that will walk you through the process of registering with VSC, whereby you will be able to create your FAS ID. Now, your FAS ID is a single authentication mechanism that can get you into a lot of FAS's applications. Very useful thing to have, and you are going to need that before you get into eBuy. You'll need one if you want to post in most communities on Interact. You'll need one if you're working with GSA Advantage or any of our other tools. So definitely want to get that created before you try to log into eBuy, because you won't be able to log into eBuy without it. And once you've followed all that steps, you will arrive at your seller's homepage, where I'm going to walk you through an overview of the process of finding opportunities. So after you've logged in, you will want to press the prominent orange button in the middle, Find Opportunities Now. That will take you to all of the opportunities that have been posted under any contract that you hold. You're going to want to check that frequently. There are new opportunities being posted all the time. Our most successful sellers are the ones who designate folks to check multiple times a day. You can also use your email alerts. As Polaris GWAC holders, I believe you receive email alerts for all of the opportunities that are posted. As you browse the opportunities, you can work online or offline. Take a look at each one. You'll download all the attachments that you need if you want to work offline, or you can just work directly in the system if you like. Fill out those opportunities, entering your pricing, your line items, any prompt payment discount. I will go into detail all this later, but you're entering the details and then you're responding to the request. That's an overview of the process. So let's go ahead and dive into the actual screens. Before I open those up, this is a mock-up I've used for purposes of the presentation. So these are not screens I can directly manipulate, but I've done my best to show all of the relevant pieces in each screen that you're going to need and that I'm going to focus on in detail. So from www.ebuy.gsa.gov, you would click on the contractor login in the top right of the screen, and you would enter your credentials, your FAS ID. You'd go through your multi-factor authentication, and you would arrive at the main home page. As I mentioned earlier, right in the middle is a Find Opportunities Now button. That is where most of you seasoned eBuy users will go immediately. But for the newer folks, let's just dive into what's happening at the very top of the screen. So you have a menu at the top with a request finder, my quotes, bids, requests, profile, messages, and a logout. If you have been forwarded a request, or if you have a specific request number, click the request finder and it will pop up a little input box where you can put the request number in, click find, and it will take you directly to that request. If you click on messages, you will be able to see an overlay with all the statuses and updates that are present on any request that you have recently taken action on. Nice and useful to see the activity that's going on here. You get an update as they go. That will probably fill up as you're more active in the screen. But the profile is where I want to direct your attention to, because a lot of our newer users may not be aware of how to set up email alerts and how to manage points of contacts within their different categories. So if you click on the profile, you will end up here in your profile screen, and you will have a list of points of contact for each of the categories under which you hold a contract. One of the things that we are asked most frequently is whether or not, for holders of multiple contracts, you can consolidate contracts under a single login and see all the opportunities. So the capability to do that is accessed right here under Manage and Add Contracts. If you click Manage Add Contracts, a pop-up will come up that has an interface that lets you add a contract. You would click the Add contract button, and you would enter the contract number and some other details as prompted. You would have to validate that you are a point of contact on any contract that you add. That is done in tandem with what's in SAM and what's in the vendor support center. A note about consolidating your contracts under a single number. Whichever one you bundle the contract under, that will be your main login. When you log into the main contract, you will see all the opportunities for any of the secondary contracts that you bundled together. But if you still choose to log in under one of the secondary contracts, you will only see the opportunities for that secondary contract. So whichever one you're in most, pick one, bundle the other contracts together, and you won't have to log in and out and log in multiple times to see all the opportunities that are available under your various contracts. The second thing that we are asked very frequently is how to manage points of contact. So as you can see here, we have categories that I've mocked up with 8A stars as an example, but it should be applicable to any contract vehicle that has categories. You will have points of contact that you can toggle, whether they get email notices or whether or not they are the main point of contact for that category. So if you click POC, you can toggle whether or not they are the main contact. You can add other users by clicking Add New POC to a category. It will pop up a window that says Add New POC. You will put in a name, phone number, and email address, and you can select which categories, which SINs that point of contact is going to be able to access and receive notifications for. So that is how you manage your points of contact. Those two capabilities are usually what we get the most questions about. So hopefully it's helpful to articulate them all here. Check your points of contact frequently. Validate that you're getting the email alerts that you expect to get, especially if you log in and you see an opportunity. This way you can be sure that you're always kept abreast of what's going on and you have an opportunity to respond. Now we're going to do My Quotes Bids. This is effectively your history page, and any of the quotes and bids that you've submitted will appear in this page. So access it by clicking the My Quotes Bids at the top of the page, and you will be taken to this interface where you can see your history. On the left side of the screen, we have filters that you can use to focus down your list of quotes bids, filter through whether they're active, whether they've been archived, the status of their response, and whether or not they have had award info or been canceled. Those filters kind of resemble what you've got over here with status or what you've got over here with the award info. And speaking of award info, if a request has been processed and award information has been provided, then this link will appear next to the request ID. If you click Request Award Info, you'll get a little bit of information about what ended up happening with the award. While not every buyer, not every request does follow through with this award notification process, that information is not always there. When it is available, that is how you would access it. If you want to review the quote bid that you submitted, you can click on the hyperlinked quote bid ID to view the details. But in order for there to even be quotes/bids to review, let's go through those opportunities. So as I mentioned earlier, if you had clicked the Find Opportunities Now button on the home page, you will end up in the Opportunities screen. And this is where all of the opportunities that have been posted under your contract will appear. If you went through earlier and you added additional contracts to this login, you will see some other areas with their own contract opportunities underneath whichever one is showing first. They will all be on this screen. Opportunities show while they are still open, so you do want to make sure that you take a look at all of them while you can. eBuy does not currently allow a seller to access a historical request. From this screen, you've got a search box in the middle. You can use search terms to filter the list down. They'll search the request ID, some key phrases that are in the title or the description. In general, if you have the request ID number, that is the best way to search for a request, but you have a bit of flexibility here in terms of matching any of the words or all of the words at once. Down here, you have the ability to hide or print out requests. If you click any one of the checkboxes, you can do one at a time or you can do multiple at a time. The hide requests and print requests button will come up. You cannot unhide a request once you've hidden it, so please be certain that you want to hide something. But if it is something you don't want to see anymore, you can hide it that way. The print interface, for those that still like to work that way, has been optimized to make it nice and easy to print out in a paper saving format that is well optimized for reading on paper. But if you would like to respond to a request, you would click the request ID number. It is a hyperlink, and that will take you inside the request details. This page is where you would see all of the information that the buyer is requesting of you, and then how you would put in your response. At the very top of the page, you've got a couple of options here for what you can do. If you click the interested button, that will indicate to the buyer that you do intend to submit a response. If you click no quote/bid, then that will indicate to the buyer that your response is a no quote. You'll be prompted for a reason. Some folks like to no quote if they don't provide the product or service, or if they're just unable to get to the request at that time. You have the ability to save your quote to draft or to discard the changes that you've made to the page since starting. And when you're done filling out all the fields, you can click the review/submit button to submit your response. As you scroll down a little bit, and I've broken out the middle of the page here just to cut out some of the stuff that isn't necessarily interesting in this presentation, you'll see the request ID, you'll see the title, you'll see any reference number that the buyer has provided. You can see whether or not this is a follow-on requirement and whether there was a previous RFI posted. You'll see the type of contract that they're using, whether it's they can select from a drop-down of contracting types, the commerciality of the request, and over here, you will see how long you have until the request closes. So you absolutely need to submit your responses before the close date of the request. Some buyers will opt if they have not gotten a lot of responses, or if perhaps they've gotten no quotes indicating there was not enough time. Some buyers will extend the quote close date. So you can see that if you log back into the opportunities, sometimes they will extend the close date. After you've read through what the buyer has requested, it is time for you to submit your response. So there's it's fairly straightforward. There's only a few fields you're going to have to fill out, especially depending on whether the buyer entered line items or not. You will see your quote ID. It will be the request ID followed by a randomized 3-letter suffix. The first thing you're going to need to fill out is how long the quote you're submitting is, or the quote/bid you're submitting is good until. At a minimum, it must be 7 days from the close date of the request, but depending on the complexity of the quote and the original request, you're going to want to give an appropriate amount of time for the buyer to review. You can also, just like they can extend the request close date, you can extend your quote/bid expiration date if you need to. So line items, I'm told, is not something that appears frequently on Polaris, but for those of you that may have other contract vehicles, you've probably seen this interface. If the buyer has opted to enter line items directly into the request, then we make it very easy for you guys to input your unit price. All of the line items that they have put in will appear here, and then you can just enter the price over here. In cases of line items, buyers are able to do partial awards. So requests could potentially be awarded to a couple of different sellers simultaneously, depending on the line items entered. But you would enter your prices here. If you want to offer a prompt payment discount, you can do so down here. Enter the number of days, enter the percentage. You can indicate the type of shipping, whether it's origin and destination, and whether or not there is a shipping cost. If you have any attachments that you'd like to attach to your response, click the Attach Documents button, and a pretty standard attachment interface will open up, allowing you to choose from your local files. You can drag them from the window, or you can click each one to upload them, and they will be attached to the request. I believe the file limit is about 100 meg, and certain special characters will not be allowed. The file types you can use are the standard document types: Word, Excel, text, image files. Just no executables, things like that are forbidden. They will be blocked from being uploaded. Finally, if you have any comments that you want to include along with your response, put them in here, and those will go over to the buyer. The bottom line price is inputted down here at the very bottom of the response. That will appear as well at the top when you go to submit. And then you can click the Review Submit button. You'll get a chance to review all the items that you've submitted here. If you need to make any edits, you can do that. Otherwise, if you're ready, you can click Submit, and you'll get a little confirmation message in the top right of the screen. So that's, for the seller side, that is about it in terms of managing your profile and submitting requests. So we did cover the profile, we covered the viewing opportunities, we covered the history page, we covered the introduction to eBuy. So let's just talk a little bit about any additional support you might need. The Vendor Support Center is always available to take calls and questions specifically related to issues you might be having with the system. If a page isn't loading, or if you're having trouble with a workflow, you can reach out to the Vendor Support Center by phone or by email. The Vendor Support Center is not for contracting questions. That would be a member of the Polaris team or your contracting officer. Reach out to them with specific questions about contracting or the terms of the contract. And if you want a bit more of a step-by-step guide on how to use eBuy, in the footer of all the pages on eBuy, you will see a user guide. You'll see one user guide for buyers, one user guide for sellers. You will be able to access it from there. So that is my presentation. I would like to take questions now if anybody would like to ask them.